Welcome to Speaking from Experience. My name is Rohan, and this is the weekly podcast where I talk about my experiences working in the digital marketing space over the last 10 years, and more importantly, over the last 1 year working at Google. I will talk about the ups and downs throughout my career, about love, relationships, family, money, and a whole lot more. So I really hope you enjoy the episodes you're going to hear. I have poured my heart and soul into them. If you do like the content, please share and subscribe to the podcast. Hey guys, welcome to today's episode. Today, I'm going to talk about something that I think everyone has been impacted by over this whole lockdown, quarantine, coronavirus period. Personally speaking, I have been struggling for the last couple of months to stay motivated about work, to get excited, to get out of bed every day, and to even just look forward to the day. I am truly thankful that I have a job and my wife has a job and we can make ends meet, and we are not in a situation where we are struggling to just provide for ourselves, but staying inside all day and being forced to not interact with our friends has definitely taken its toll on us. So we've, I think, been in lockdown for over 100 days in Melbourne now, and it's sad to see your friends losing jobs. It's hard to see some restaurants in your neighborhood close down, businesses winding up. But I guess you need to be thankful about things that you can control in your life. So I guess, I wanted to talk about mental health in today's episode and some of the effects I have seen that have crept in throughout this lockdown and quarantine period. So let's start. I guess whenever we talk about mental health, there's a stigma that's attached to it, but I think it is very important to understand when you're starting to feel low, when you're not in the mental capacity to actually do work, or when you're feeling exhausted or burnt out. And it is important to get help when you start to feel all of those effects that being locked in your own house can have on you. So these were the signs that I had started noticing of burnout, and hopefully these will help you identify some of those signs in your life. If it's hard for you to get out of bed in the morning and to get excited about your job, that could be one of the signs of burnout. I remember it was getting harder to sort of get out of bed, get excited, and to look forward to the same monotonous schedule every day. But Google has allowed us to take a few personal days to just unwind and relax and to not think about work, so that when you do come back from those holidays, you're a lot more recharged and ready to take on work. The second sign that I did notice was when you start having more arguments at home or start fighting with people at home. I personally haven't noticed that in my household, but I do know people who are struggling to just stay with their partners. So I guess if you are noticing that you are a lot more irritable and are fighting a lot with your spouse or the people you stay with, it might just be a good time to just be by yourself and to just sit back and relax for a bit. Take some time out from everyone that you're meeting every day, and if you're staying by yourself, maybe talk to someone. So I will go into all of those steps later on, but this part is more about figuring out the signs that you might have burnout. Another important sign to pay attention to that can tell you that you're burnt out is if you're sleeping a lot. A lot of times when you just want to stay in bed and sleep a lot could be your body's way of saying that it's exhausted. And even though you may not feel physically exhausted, your mental exhaustion can lead to you sleeping more than you normally do. So if that's one of the patterns that has changed for you, it might be time to look at talking to someone or getting help and taking a break from work or taking a break from your everyday routine. The last point that I'm going to talk about in the understanding the science section is just being more aware of how you have changed and how your behaviors have changed since the lockdown started, or since the forced COVID stay-at-home policy started. And you'll start to notice how things like exercise, your eating habits, or even simple things like your routine. So if you were to get out of bed every day in the morning and take a shower, and if you're not doing it right now, those small changes in your day could have led to some changes that are not so good for you, and those can lead to burnout, or those can lead to you being in a mentally worse state of mind. So I would say be more aware of your habits and see how your habits have changed since the time that the lockdown started. So the next part that I'm going to touch on is actually getting help when you do realize that you're burnt out to be carrying out your everyday routine. So getting help doesn't necessarily mean getting professional help. Yes, that is definitely one of the things that you should be doing. But let's just start with talking to someone. It could be your friend, your spouse, or just anyone who you can confide in. Talking to someone can change your perspective on things, because we have been surrounded with so much negativity around us that having other people's perspectives on your problems can actually make you feel better and can help you find solutions to some of the issues that you might have. So for example, I set up a virtual drink session with some of my friends, and that really helped me to break the monotony of a Friday night of just like finishing work, eating junk food, binging on TV, and then just going to sleep. So that helped me connect with them, because I hadn't connected with them in a long time, and it helped them tell me about their lives, and we caught up, and it sort of felt good because we all have been without human interaction for so long that we've sort of forgotten what it is to socialize and the positive effects that it had on us. Second point is you can start making changes in your habits, or you can start using apps like Headspace that allow you to meditate and allow you to take time out of your day to do something other than just work or watching TV. And that is a form of getting help, because you allow your brain to switch off and not think about the negative thoughts. And you also teach yourself a skill such as meditating or internal reflecting that can help bring some positivity into your life. The most obvious way of getting help is to talk to a professional. It's helped me a lot over the last couple of years, just talking to a professional about issues in my life, or just getting the help that I need when I'm mentally exhausted. And you can access this in tons of ways. A lot of time companies have EAP programs, or employee assistance programs, which allow you access to a psychologist, and it's anonymous, so your company doesn't really know that you have been accessing the service. Or you can even use some local government resources. A lot of governments around the world now have dedicated helpline numbers that you can call if you are feeling down and out or just want to talk to someone. I can't tell you how much talking to someone helped me a couple of years ago when we were going through a few things in our family and things just were a bit overwhelming, and just having that external point of view and just having a professional hear me and just tell me that, you know, things are not as bad as you think they are, definitely helped. And a lot of times psychologists can also help you with some tools that can help you overcome anxiety. So I would 100% recommend getting professional help if that is accessible to you. The other two things that I have done from time to time, I'm not saying I'm a regular at it, but I do use them from time to time just to unwind and step away from the craziness or the negativity of the day, is the first one is Yoga Nidra. So my working group has organized a Yoga Nidra session, and what it basically is that you lie down in a meditative state without moving too much, and a guided practitioner takes you through guided meditation in which you disconnect from the outer world and just focus on yourself and focus on your breathing, which definitely helps you to unwind and to let go of all the tension in your body. This has helped me quite a bit, and it is said that 20 minutes of Yoga Nidra is equivalent to about 5 to 6 hours of REM sleep, which helps tremendously when your brain is overworked. So you can easily Google Yoga Nidra on YouTube and you can find some guided meditation. It usually takes about 20 minutes, but you can do it for longer if you want. The second thing that I have tried and has definitely helped me whenever I've done it is breath work. Recently we had a workshop at Google by the psychologist called Dr. James Woods. You can easily Google him or YouTube him, and he told us about something called tactical breathing, and this is something that the Australian military has used. And what it is basically breath work. So even if you just search for breathwork exercises on YouTube, you should be able to find a few videos that can help you with this practice. It definitely helps calm down your heart rate and definitely helps with anxiety. I have also set up an exercise routine over the last few months. I used to always have an exercise routine and wake up early at around 5 a.m. and maybe go for a walk or go to the gym when the gyms were open in the good old days. But it sort of slipped over the last, I would say, 6 months since we went into lockdown, because parks are closed, playgrounds are closed, and you are only allowed to be out for a certain amount of time during the day in the city that I live in. So I have had to sort of change the kind of exercise that I do. I no longer wake up at 5 a.m. because I'm too exhausted mentally and I feel like I need to sleep in a lot more. So I don't force my body to wake up early and go out and do the exercise. Instead, I wake up maybe an hour or an hour and a half before work starts and then go out for a 45-minute walk, which is scheduled in before I start work. And then usually during the day, I try to do push-ups for like 15 minutes or try to do some kind of cardio. There are some really good home workout videos on YouTube. So I usually add those in during the day and sometimes in between work. The other thing that you could do to sort of schedule in your exercise is to buddy up with someone. You can use MyFitnessPal or even Apple Health to sort of have a friendly competition in between people who use the same kind of apps. Or you can just call up a friend and tell them to hold you accountable for that 60 minutes of exercise or 30 minutes of exercise throughout the day, and you do the same for them. One really cool thing that you can do with technology is set reminders on Google or even on your Alexa device if you have one at home, and you can tell them to remind you at a certain point of time during the day to go out for a walk. And you can even schedule in your 10 or 15 minute breaks so that you can actually go and take your break or do your exercise. I have also realized throughout the lockdown that my concentration levels have gone down the drain. I used to have really bad concentration levels as it is, but throughout the lockdown, I probably can't even look at the screen for more than, I would say, 5 minutes. So what I have used is the digital well-being features on my phone. I use an Android phone and it is readily available, and I believe Apple has something similar. So what this feature allows me to do is lock all of the apps that are distracting, like social media, your emails, and anything else that you usually indulge in. Personally speaking, I am addicted to the news, and 99% it's negative, and it's about the COVID crisis or something happening back home in India. So I have put all of these apps into the locked mode using the digital well-being feature, and whenever I start working, I switch this on and set a timer for about 45 minutes so that I go uninterrupted and I can work for that 45-minute stretch. I usually do this throughout the day, and I've realized that I've become a lot more productive throughout the day, and I can get a solid 4 to 5 hours of work done. Whereas before, when the lockdown started, I was pathetic in getting solid hours of work done during my working hours, and that used to sort of bleed into my personal time, and I really disliked it. So use those features available on your phone to maintain a digital balance. The other thing that you can do is to say no to social media after a certain point of time during the day. So I guess if you go to bed at around 10 p.m., then say no to social media at around 9 p.m. so that your brain switches off and doesn't have that blue light from your device, which sort of wakes up your body and puts it in alert mode. Use that 1 hour to just decompress. Maybe do yoga nidra during that time so that you can not think about the day, or read a book. I've recently started really enjoying reading comics that my wife had bought. I never used to like reading, but I really enjoy reading the comics. So I think I am going to continue that for that last 1 hour before you do go to sleep, because I've also realized that not having devices in the bedroom, especially not looking at social media 1 hour before going to sleep, has improved the quality of sleep that I get. So the next point that I'm going to talk about is food intake. So this is quite touchy, and I'm sure everyone has felt it since the lockdown started. My food intake has become atrocious since the lockdown started. I have been overweight all my life, so I do try to sort of stay away from the unhealthy food. I've tried all of the diets out there. I've sort of always had a bad eating pattern, and this whole lockdown period has made it worse. I realized that I started eating a lot more sweets. I never had a sweet tooth, but I started eating a lot more sweets during lockdown. I started eating a lot more cookies during lockdown. And these are sort of habits that have led to weight gain during the lockdown. And I'm sure everyone else has also felt the effects. So I guess what I'm trying to do now is to be more aware of the food that I'm eating, because as we start to get out of the lockdown and start to meet people again and start going back to restaurants, the chances of eating poorly are probably going to get worse, because slowly and steadily as the world starts to open up, we will now have access to all of those foods that we haven't been able to consume during the lockdown. So pay attention to what you're eating. I personally sometimes log my calories just to see how bad it's become. So you can use an app like MyFitnessPal or Fat Secret just to log your calories. The bigger point is just to be more aware of the foods that you're eating. Food is also really important when it comes to mental health, because I have noticed whenever I eat junk food, it's mainly to have a pick-me-up. But what I'd also started noticing is that when something bad was happening, I used to also go and binge on junk food. So the last 3 or 4 weeks have been really, really stressful for my family. A couple of our family members did get diagnosed with COVID and they were in hospital, and me being in a different country, it took its toll mentally on me, and as well as physically. I was not motivated to go out and exercise, and I definitely realized that I started eating a lot of junk food during this time. So I guess if you're going through a rough patch during this time, just be aware of the kind of foods you're eating. If you're using junk food as a pick-me-up, or if you're using junk food to reward yourself just because you've exercised throughout the week, be aware of the pattern. And I guess it's okay to indulge in junk food once in a while. So decide whether you want to use it as a pick-me-up or as a reward for being healthy. I've also started incorporating this new sort of habit over the last month, and I will just call it me hour. So basically during the day, just have an hour for yourself where you're not using your device to be on social media and you're not working. Just have this time to yourself. You can exercise during this time. Personally speaking, I walk during this time because that helps me unwind, think about ideas for this podcast, and sometimes just listen to music and chill out. But you can find what works for you. For some people, it might be just sleeping that extra hour during the day, which I do sometimes as well. But find time for yourself. It doesn't have to be the full hour, but I would recommend at least 30 minutes for yourself to do something that you enjoy. So the last thing that I'm going to talk about today is giving back. And as much as everyone's stressed out during this time and there's tons of negativity around us, giving back can be one thing that you can incorporate into your daily routine, and that can make you feel that you're contributing back to society during these really, really troubling times. So giving can be simple as delivering groceries to someone's house. For example, in India, in coronavirus lockdown areas, there are volunteers who will go and deliver groceries to people's doorsteps who can't leave the house or who have health issues. So if you can do that in your community, that'll be a great way of giving back. If there are friends who have been impacted by coronavirus, try to help them in any shape or form possible, even if it's just going and hanging out with them for a bit, or just calling them up and asking them how they are, or maybe helping them with their resume if they've lost a job. So help a friend. I promise you it will make you feel great, and it will make them feel great as well. All right, experience seekers, that was it for today's episode. If you liked the content for today, please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. And more importantly, spread the word, because the more number of people who listen to the podcast, the more motivated I am to smash out this amazing content.